We go through many things as a woman. Could God save my son when I walk away from him? I was literally at the foot of the cross, begging God to save my son. You are an amazing woman. And it's time to rise up. It's time to wake up.
Welcome to Pro 31 Women, a series featuring women of faith from all walks of life, sharing their stories and a message of hope. This is her story.
Thank you, Proverbs 31 Woman, for inviting me to your channel. It's an honor to be able to share my story. My name is Eileen Vasquez-Maldonado. I'm a kingdom influencer. I love to share God's love and what God has done in my life, sharing my heart. And I'm excited to share my story. I was born in a Christian home, and my father was a pastor or a reverend. That's how they called it. And my dad used to go, he didn't have his own church, but he used to go to different churches and preach about abortion. That was his ministry, teach about abortion. And since young, we were very, my father was very religious. There was rules and things, kind of Old Testament. And that's how we grew when I was younger. And one day, I remember seeing my father praying. And he was praying in cloth, in sackcloth. And he was crying. And I remember I was young. I probably was like 6 years old. And I said, Dad, don't cry. Don't be sad. Why are you sad? Obviously, I don't understand nothing about life. I don't understand what he was going through his heart. And I said to him that I promise you that I will love God more than you. And that's when I feel that the love of God entered into my heart. The moment that I said that. And I have loved God my whole entire life. But my dad was 84 years old and he passed away. And I was 21 at that time. I was not as close to God as I am now. I knew about God, but I really didn't have that personal relationship. Because we would grow on a home that was Christian home did not mean that I had that relationship with God. Even though that I love him, I didn't have that connection because we didn't go to church or anything like that. My dad was already old. But then my dad passed away. And I was so hurt. I could not understand that pain. I was in so much pain that I walked away from God. I said, God, why did you took my dad from me? I could not understand it. I could not understand he was 84 years old. He had the Parkinson's disease. He was going through all these health issues. And it was his time to go. I wanted to hold him in. And I know sometimes we want to hold on into the people that we love. We don't understand death. And we don't understand heaven. We don't understand, at least I didn't at that point. And I was so angry at God. And I walked away from God. And it was not until, I would say, probably 4 years or 5 years after that I got married. And my husband at that time, he took me to church. And I was so scared. And I'm going to tell you, I saw God, his hand of God through all these 4 years, even that I refused him, that I didn't want to know anything about him. My heart still loved him. And I don't know how to explain it, but it was like a love and hate relationship pretty much. I didn't want to, because he took my dad from me. And a lot of things happened in my life, and I was like, God, if my dad would be here, my life would be different. And when I got married, my husband at that time took me to church, and it was so hard for me to walk into that church. But I had this desire to be there. But the moment that I walked into church, I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried. I could not understand how could I left or walk away from such an amazing God, a God that loved me. I could understand that, but then I accept Jesus into my life. That's when I start building my relationship. And every Sunday, I was so much pain that I was carrying. Every Sunday, every time that they did the altar call, it was me raising my hand. Again, the next Sunday, it was me raising my hand. And it was hard. It was amazing because I went back to God and I felt His love. And I started building this relationship with God. Years after, I have I had 3 children. My daughter, my middle son, and my little baby. One day, he drowned. And, my son drowned. And I was working. I go to my mother-in-law house at that time. And it's amazing how God did everything. Because my brother-in-law at that time, his car broke down. And God did all these things to put in position to save my son. He's a nurse, so he gave CPR to Jojo, to my son, and he brought him back. At this time, the ambulance took my son. At this time, I have no idea how my son was. I didn't know if he had brain damage. I didn't have nothing. And I literally, when I was driving to the hospital, I cried so much. I don't even want to think about it. Because I cried so much. I was literally at the foot of the cross, begging God to save my son. And I made a covenant. And I said, God, if you save my son, I will dedicate my life to you. So I made a covenant to God, not knowing that He saved my son. Not only He saved my son, there was no brain damage. There was no water on his lung, very little water on his lung. Even the nurse said to me, this is weird. It's actually a miracle that your son, with the time that he was in the water, barely has any water. God saved my son. In my mind, and I think I say, how could God save my son when I walk away from Him? How could you do this for me when I rejected you for so many years? And that has always been on my mind. But God was so good that not only He saved my son, but I believe He walked with Jesus while He was gone. For the little things He said here and there, He started mentioning Jesus. He said the scars that was on His feet. I mean, he was 3. He didn't even know who Jesus was. And all this thing that I went through, it brought me so close, and the covenant that I make with God, that I will dedicate my life to Him. I will dedicate my share, the love of God to others. Let me tell you something. I know that we go through many things as a woman, so many things, so many pain, because the enemy from the beginning of jealousy. There's enmity between the woman and the devil. There's enmity. And enmity is hate. So through the years, we have been attacked by the enemy to become who we are not, to be treated, because we're supposed to be a helper. We're supposed to be amazing women for God. We're supposed to be one-on-one with a man, building. But the enemy attacks us to try to go through things that we should not be going through. But I want to tell you something. You are perfectly made on God's image. You are the light of His eyes. You are perfect. He will never leave you or forsake you. I'm not going to tell you that life is perfect because we are Christian women. No. We're going to go through things, but those things build us, make us stronger of who we are going to become. And our voices, to be able to share our testimony, is so important because it will touch someone's life. Now I can speak with someone in pain that I know what God has done for me. My question is, always think back on what God has done in your life. That will keep you strong. And I'm going to tell you something. God is amazing. God will protect your heart. God will protect you and rebuild you and restore you. So what this world and people have done into your life. So look up. Always know that God loves you, that He will never leave you or forsake you. You are an amazing woman. And it's time to rise up. It's time to wake up. It's time to flourish. Bring up what God has put into you. And love you, God, with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. That is part of my story. Because if I can tell you my whole entire story, I will never end. But I can never live this life without God. Never look back. Always look forward to what God has in store for you. Because your story is going to change someone's life. All right, guys. Thank you for the opportunity for me to share my story. And I hope it touched someone's life.